Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start the inaugural lecture soon. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand up to welcome the arrival of Professor Dr. Zamri Razi, Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Students Affairs, University Malaya, and Professor Dr. Sherina Hanafi, Professor of Primary Care Medicine, Faculty of Medicine, University Malaya. Take a seat. Ke laut dalam mencari mutiara, terpikat hati pada silanya. Majlis kita kini bermula, kehadiran tuan-puan sungguh bermakna. Salam sejahtera diucapkan kepada semua para hadirin yang dihormati sekalian. Selamat datang ke Syarahan Perdana Profesor Dr. Sherina Hanafi pada hari yang berbahagia ini. Izinkan saya untuk bertutur dalam bahasa Inggeris untuk sama-sama menghormati dan meraihkan para hadirin dari pelbagai kaum. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to extend our warmest welcome to Yang Berusaha Professor Dr. Zamri Razi, Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Students Affairs, Universiti Malaya. Yang Berusaha Professor Dr. Sherina Hanafi, Professor of Primary Care Medicine, Faculty of Medicine, Universiti Malaya. Yang berbahagia Profesor Datuk Dr. Yang Faridah binti Abdul Aziz, Dean of Faculty of Medicine, Universiti Malaya. Yang Berusaha Profesor Dr. Nazira Hasnan, Director, Universiti Malaya Medical Center. Management of Universiti Malaya, Management of Faculty of Medicine, Management of Universiti Malaya Medical Center. Distinguished guests, professors, doctors, ladies and gentlemen, to all who are joining the inaugural lecture, virtually or physically, welcome to this very special event. This event is hosted by the Faculty of Medicine, Universiti Malaya. I am Adina and I am your Master of Ceremony for this event. This is a very special event for me. This is an inaugural lecture of my mentor, colleague, and an overall inspiring teacher, Professor Dr. Sherina Hanafi. Ladies and gentlemen, to start the event, I would like to invite Dr. Megat Muhammad Amirul Amza to lead the Doa recital.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Please allow me to continue the recitation in English, in Malay. Al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma inna nas'aluka min khairi ma sa'alaka minhu nabiyyuka Muhammad wa na'udzubika min syarri ma ista'adzaka minhu nabiyyuka Muhammad. Allahumma jam'ana hadha jam'an marhuma wa tafarruqna min ba'dihi tafarruqan ma'suma wa la taj'al fina wa la ma'ana syaqiyyan wa la mahruma. Ya Allah, Tuhan pengasuh sekalian alam, kami menzahirkan setinggi-tinggi kesyukuran di atas limpahan rahmat dan kurnia-Mu yang dengan izin-Mu dapat kami berhimpun pada hari yang penuh keberkatan ini bagi meraihkan kejayaan sahabat, saudara dan ahli keluarga kami Profesor Dr. Sherina Hanafi dalam mencapai satu martabat yang mulia dalam perjalanan kerjaya dan kehidupannya sebagai seorang pendidik dan ahli akademia. Ya Allah, Tuhan yang Maha Mendengar, jadikanlah pencapaian ini sebagai keberkatan yang berkekalan, membawa manfaat buat dirinya, keluarganya, kami semua dan seluruh ummah. Anugerahkanlah beliau keikhlasan, ketabahan dan kekuatan untuk terus berbakti dan limpahkanlah perjalanan hidupnya dengan rahmat dan keredaan-Mu. Ya Allah, Tuhan yang Maha Bijaksana, sesungguhnya segala kejayaan bukanlah milik kami semata-mata, ia hanyalah dengan izin-Mu. Engkaulah yang menghadirkan guru-guru, sahabat-sahabat dan rakan seperjuangan untuk bersama-sama kami dalam meniti jalan ini. Kekalkanlah ukhuwah kami, satukanlah hati-hati kami agar setiap usaha dan perjuangan kami adalah demi agama-Mu, demi bangsa dan negara kami serta demi kemajuan universiti tercinta ini. Ya Allah, Tuhan yang Maha Perkasa, ampunilah dosa kami, dosa kedua ibu bapa kami, dosa kaum keluarga kami, dosa guru-guru kami dan dosa seluruh umat Islam. Maafkanlah kealpaan dan kekhilafan kami. Janganlah Engkau jadikan dunia ini sebagai matlamat utama kami, sebaliknya jadikanlah dunia ini sebagai ladang amal menuju keredaan-Mu di akhirat kelak. Ya Allah, Tuhan yang Maha mengkabulkan permintaan, dengarkanlah doa dan permohonan kami, perkenankanlah harapan kami, kabulkanlah segala kebaikan yang kami pohon dan jauhkanlah kami dari segala keburukan. Rabbana آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آل محمد والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Thank you so much, Amirul. Ladies and gentlemen, a professor's inaugural lecture is one of the Universiti Malaya's cherished traditions. This lecture honors the professional journeys taken by our professors and provides an opportunity for them to share their wisdom, inspirations, and philosophies. We are grateful to be here today as an audience to this inaugural lecture by Professor Dr. Sherina Hanafi, a committed and enthusiastic professor of primary care medicine at the Department of Primary Care Medicine, Faculty of Medicine, Universiti Malaya. Today, Prof. Nick will be sharing her journey in the field with a lecture entitled Planting Seeds, Nurturing Growth, a Journey Up the Primary Care Beanstalk. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to invite Deputy Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, University Malaya, Professor Dr. Zamri Razi, to chair the lecture and subsequently introduce Professor Nick Sherina Hanafi. Please welcome Professor Dr. Zamri Razi.
Thank you very much, our Master of Ceremony. This afternoon is very special that we gather here at this very Gemerlang Hall. And together with us, we have distinguished, prominent academician, leaders in medical field, leaders in our varsity with us today. Thank you very much for being here. Yang kita hargai, our former Vice Chancellor, yang berbahagia Datuk Profesor Anwar Zaini. Thank you very much, yang berbahagia Datuk. Former Vice Chancellor as well as former Dean of the Faculty, former Director of our medical hospital. And also yang berbahagia Professor Datuk Muhammad Amin Jalaluddin. Thank you very much, Datuk, for being here. Also our former Vice Chancellor, former Dean, and former Director. And together with us also we have very senior members of the faculty, Prof. Wang, and many others, Professor Ulung, Datuk Lui, and many senior professors that we see here at this very hall yang kita ingat satu persatu dan kita kenang. Shall we give a big round of applause to all of them? Yang kita raikan pada hari ini, yang berusaha Profesor Dr. Sherina Haidi Hanafi, Professor of Primary Care Medicine, Faculty of Medicine, University of Malaya. Yang berusaha Profesor Dr. Nazira Hasnan, Director, University Malaya Medical Center. Thank you very much, Prof. Yang berbahagia Profesor Datuk Dr. Yang Farida Abdul Aziz, Dean, Faculty of Medicine, University Malaya. Deputy Deans, Head of Department, Management of Faculty of Medicine, Management of University Malaya Medical Center, distinguished guests, professors, doctors, ladies and gentlemen who are joining the inaugural lecture virtually and physically today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce today's speaker, Professor Dr. Sherina Haidi Hanafi, Professor of Primary Care Medicine at our oldest Faculty of Medicine, University of Malaya. Professor Sherina is a passionate educator, clinician, and researcher who has dedicated her career to the advancement of primary care in Malaysia. Her journey began at this very school, at the city that used to be called at the time, satellite city of Petaling Jaya, not far from University of Malaya, where most of the educated person are staying at this very vicinity. She is from the Sekolah Sri Petaling, a well-known school until today. And she continued her secondary education at this very particular school. If you see her leadership skill, her leadership prominence, you can tell that she is from these particular schools. And her friends are here too. The school that used to be called Malay Girls College. And she is one of the TKCN and now is one of the OGA. So she spent the 5 years at Seremban Negeri Sembilan and then pursued her medical degree where? Surely at the oldest medical school of the country, University of Malaya, and graduated many years ago. She then pursued her PhD at the University of Manchester and completed the PhD also many years ago. Her early experience serving in Klinik Kesihatan Kuala Krau and Sanggang in Pahang was a turning point that sparked her deepest interest in primary care. Since joining University Malaya as a trainee lecturer in 1996, she has been actively involved in the teaching of both undergraduates and postgraduate students and has supervised over 30 trainees of Masters of Family Medicine program, a program that is highly regarded for producing high caliber FM specialists. Ladies and gentlemen, Prof. Nick has served as a head of Department of Primary Care across several terms between 2011 and 2021. She was the one who organized the department when the department celebrated its 25th anniversary. The department that was founded none other by someone who is here today when he was the Dean of the Faculty. Yang berbahagia, Datuk Professor Dr. Anwar Zaini. Thank you very much, Datuk. So at the time, the late Professor Diraja Unku Aziz was the Vice Chancellor of our university. And currently, our Professor Nick is the department's program coordinator. And in her capacity, she played a key role in curriculum department, not only at the faculty level, but also at the national level. Professor Nick Sherina is a clinician at the Klinik Pakar Perubatan Rawatan Utama, in short, RUKA, at our UMMC, and currently serves as chair of UMMC Medical Research and Ethics Committee. She also contributes to various university and hospital committees, including Medical Advisory Committee, Faculty of Dentistry Medical Ethics Committee, and also involved in research education through the Masters of Health Research Ethics program. But beyond the university, she is very active in the Academy of Family Physicians of Malaysia, where she is currently serving as the Vice President of the Malaysian Society of Hypertension. She contributes to the Ministry of Health Clinical Practice Guidelines and is part of international research collaboration such as the UK NIHR Global Health Research Unit on Respiratory Health, or in short, Respire. It's difficult to pronounce, but yes, I did it spot on, yeah. Aimed at improving respiratory care in low and middle income countries. Her research interests includes self-management and chronic diseases such as asthma, COPD, hypertension, and diabetes. Throughout her career, she has remained deeply committed to nurturing the next generation of primary care professionals through education, mentorship, and service. Ladies and gentlemen, just now we were told that this inaugural lecture is part of the University Malaya tradition. And this inaugural lecture can be traced back as far back 1949 when we were in Singapore, when at the time university calendar was not yet semester. It was still terms. When the term 1, 2, and 3, it was called Michaelmas, Hilary, and Trinity. Ladies and gentlemen, today we celebrate this tradition, but more importantly, we celebrate someone who is up there in terms of her stature as an academician, someone who we are very proud of, and she is here right before us this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Professor Dr. Nick Sherina, Haidi, Hanafi. 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 as she presents her inaugural lecture entitled Planting Seeds, Nurturing Growth, a Journey Up the Primary Care Beanstalks. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you, thanks. Professor Zamri Razi, Deputy Vice Chancellor. Prof Young, she's here, but she's not here, okay, right? Okay, Prof Nazira, Director of UMC. All distinguished guests, friends and family. Welcome to Dewan Cemerlang. I know some of you have never heard of Dewan Cemerlang, but we're here. So anyway, this afternoon we have a varied group of people in the audience. We have clinicians, we have my teachers who taught me when I was in medical school, we have researchers, we have students, we have families and friends. So I'm really, really humbled and honored to be here this afternoon. Thank you very much for spending the time. Before I start, I want all of you here now to recall a time when, a time in your life when someone or something, an event, had influenced you. It can be a positive influence, which inspires you and make you grow, or it can also be a negative influence, which in the end will also make you grow. So with that thought in mind, I actually had been thinking a lot about those influences, and today I will share with you my story of how various elements have nurtured or inspired me as a clinician, a teacher, a researcher, and a leader. Okay, so that's the title, Planting Seeds, Nurturing Growth, a Journey Up the Primary Care Beanstalk. I owe Prof. Christina Tan for the beanstalk name before you ask me anything else, because there's no such thing as a primary care beanstalk. But before we go on, let me ask for a show of hands. How many of you actually know the story of Jack and the Beanstalk? Oh, okay, impressed. Oh, okay. Prof. Ana Zaini tak tahu. Whoa. Okay, anyway, all right. So, yeah, so that's the story, that's the picture of Jack and the Beanstalk, yeah? Okay? So, it's a fairy tale about a poor boy named Jack who lived with his mother. So, one day, Jack's mother asked him to trade the family cow for money because they were poor. So, he walked along to the market and traded the cow for a packet of seeds. He was told it's magic seeds. So he went home, but the mother was utterly disappointed at Jack for getting a packet of seeds. There's no money. So she threw the magic seeds out of the window. And lo and behold, the next day, Jack saw a beanstalk going high up into the sky. Now, it's pretty much like the beans and the seeds that you get in your party pack, so you might want to throw it out the window tomorrow. So anyway, Jack, being curious and courageous, he climbed up the beanstalk and discovered a giant's castle. He managed to grab the magic hand that laid the golden eggs, as well as a magic harp. But then the giant discovered him and ran down the beanstalk to chase after him. So Jack ran down and chopped down the beanstalk just in time to kill the giant. And anyway, Jack and his mother lived happily ever after, because it's a fairy tale, yeah? Okay? Because the hen keep on laying golden eggs and giving them prosperity. So that's a fairy tale, but this story showcases at least 3 messages that I want to share with you today, and that is courage, curiosity, as well as serendipity. Okay? So in October 2024, which was a few months ago, our department had kind of like a workshop on postgraduate curriculum. So each lecturer was given a packet of seeds, like I said, like the seeds that you get in your packs today. Yeah. So the instructions were simple. Go and nurture your seeds. Yeah? So they had to do a report in 2 months' time. I'll let you know the outcome later. Yeah? So as with any plants, life starts with a seed. And these are my parents. Anyway, they're the ones standing at the back. They were alumni of University of Malaya from the Faculty of Arts. Yay, okay. Right, so they were teachers and eventually got into the Ministry of Education in administrative roles. Some of you may recognize, but probably not, Professor Emeritus Dr. Nick Safia. She's my grand-aunt. There were also other teachers. My grandparents were also teachers. So we came from a family of educators, needless to say. So when I became a lecturer, my mother said that you can't run away from being a teacher, okay? So a teacher I am, all right. So, yeah, so as what Prof. Zamri said, I came from Sekolah Sekretarian, just around the corner. I need to tell you, because now my friends' grandchildren go to this school. You know, it's like, wow, okay. I went to Tengku Kusha College, as mentioned. To me, this place introduced me to leadership through all the various activities and, you know, whatever programs that we had to do. And I have a group of my TKC friends there, right there, who continue to give me support and smiles always. Yeah. They're behaving today, so it's all right. Okay. So I was in Pusat RCC Science, right, for 2 years before entering medicine in 1987. Yeah. So life was busy. Yeah, we had classes, we had exams, but never be too busy for fun and friends. And I have my friends, my medic friends, right in the middle there. Okay, including Prof. Young. Okay, Prof. Young is my batchmate. Yeah. Yes. Okay. And Prof. Nazira was my junior, so yes. It's all in the family. Yeah, anyway, I want to share this special picture, yeah? Okay, so you could see here that we have the, in preclinical years, we were in the labs. Clinical years was in Klang. But if you pay attention to the picture down below, okay, you'll see a very old picture. I was lucky I could find it. We only started clinical examination in our 3rd year. And we had very senior professors teach us. And my group had Professor Florence Wang. Okay, she's here in the audience, everyone. So, yes, you might not remember me, Prof, but I certainly remember you. Okay. Prof was the consultant who took us, and she taught us the basic clinical skills, which I'm glad to say it's with me all this while. Yeah. But she also told us to never sit on the patient's bed. Do you remember, Prof? You told us to never sit. I thought it was weird. It's probably some infection thing. But then it took me a while to understand that what you meant was to respect the patient. That's the patient space. And your message about respecting patients has always been my guiding principle in my clinical years. So thank you very much, Prof. Okay. So that's my whole batch. We graduated in 1992. After a year of housemanship in Hospital University, it was known then, yeah. So I was posted to Pahang. So as Prof. Zamri said, I've been a city girl, but yeah, I've been posted to Kuala Krau. I don't know whether you all know, so it's there on the map. It's somewhere in Temerloh, and I have my Temerloh mates somewhere in the audience as well, okay. It was totally a bit unexpected on my part because I was posted to Clinic Kesihatan Kuala Krau in Sangang, and I was the only doctor in both clinics. Can you imagine? After housemanship, and I was so-called the boss, yeah. So I had staff about 30 in one clinic and about 20 in the other smaller one. But it was a time when I had to do it. I had to do everything. Yes, I had some colleagues in the district, but you know, you had to do things on your own and you had to learn fast. You had to make decisions. You had to, you know, manage people who were twice your age. But it was a very, very big, steep lesson in leadership for me, yeah. But I wanted to be an academic too, so I joined the master's program. Following which I joined the department. So I want to show you, Prof. Teng is also in the audience, okay? Prof. Teng and Prof. Christina Tan, were both my supervisors, and they really taught the principles of primary care medicine. It's not an easy thing to teach, but I'm glad I had them. They were very strong and very grounded in what they taught me, yeah? So, so these are some pictures. Now, from 2000 onwards, as a lecturer, as an academic primary care physician, I had all these components that I had to cover, basically being a clinician, a teacher, supervisor, a researcher, as well as the administrative roles that I had. Yeah. So for clinical service, when I wanted to do primary care, people would always ask me, Sherina, you want to do primary care? You only want to do coughs and colds? You know, it was like, why? So, I see Prof. Teng fidgeting in his seats, yeah, okay. So primary care is anything but coughs and colds, yeah. So it is not coughs and colds. It is full of patients who have various lots of issues, the triple disease that's very famous, hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol, etc., what have you. So anyway, we survived COVID, including, you could see the bottom pictures. The nurses especially were very, very helpful. Primary care is a place where people at that time with symptoms had very heightened anxiety, and we had to deal with it. Yeah, I think Dr. Mastura, she was heading up, primary care services, and you could vouch for that, yeah? But we pulled through, like I said. And then there's also the element of teaching. I started with teaching undergraduate medical program, and people may not understand, what do you mean by teach? You always say, oh, I'm teaching. It's not the usual lecture like this, So this is for the benefit of my children who don't understand what teaching means, okay? So they're there, I've got two of them here. So you have bedside teaching where you have students and a real patient, and the lecturer will, teach, yeah? Okay. So at that time, the faculty had just started what they call as problem-based learning. Yeah, so that's an example of the scenario. I hear some yes, okay. You either hate it or you like it, anyway. So they had a committee, and we had to prepare scenarios. We had to do literally everything. But, and the people in the committee really made sure we had to cross the T's and dot the I's. It was hard work, but at the end of the day, now I do realize that's also another grounding to the rigorous work that's needed in producing academic work, exam questions, whatever that's involved, yeah? So there is really no room for shoddy work. So that, again, was another event that kind of like instilled in me all this discipline, yeah? All right, so we could also see Narita and Mohazmi with Dr. Sylvia from hospice, because we had students everywhere. We sent them to hospice, we sent them to GP clinics, etc. So now you can see the picture at the bottom, our students with the EMR, because now everything is EMR. So on top of everything else, we also had to teach them about EMR and managing. Yeah, okay, Prof. Nazira as director will know it's a headache at sometimes, yeah. So then I went on to postgraduate training, and we do teach the Masters in Family Medicine program. It's a 4-year program producing FMSs, yeah, and this involves many things, not coughs and colds, okay? Communication, consultation, clinical aspects. There's also what we call as practice management, because if you recall, just now I said I was in a KK where I had to do everything, I was the boss literally. So we had to teach them practice management, yeah? And there's also the element of research, which is not easy. Yeah. So we also noticed that an element that was important in postgraduate teaching is feedback. And we did this little sit-in observation and feedback study where we found that to give feedback is really important. It has to be non-threatening. It has to be practical, constructive, non-judgmental. You can also apply it to anyone in your circle where you need to give feedback to. You observe and you give feedback. We also give feedback during exams, post-exams, and that's, you can see the late Prof. Sume giving feedback to students, how they performed. And this is actually very important in the field of, especially in the field of postgraduate training. So, as mentioned, we are involved in training FMSs. Right now in the country, there's only about 900 odd FMS in the country, which is well below what the country needs, okay? It's projected that they need 8,000 at least, and here we are, very, very few in numbers. So that's why it is essential, I'd say, to get involved in in other pathways that kind of train. So you could see that we do a lot of workshops, training workshops, and conduct exams together. Yeah. So next, we have the National Postgraduate Medical Curriculum. Back in 2014, the Council of Deans decided that it was time to have a national postgraduate curriculum. So it took a lot of work as well, but we worked together with people from the Ministry of Health, from the Academy, to come up with the primary care medicine training, which is, I'm happy to say, is already in place now. Yeah. So from NPMC, we do realize that postgraduate students have different elements working in their life, because you're in your 30s, you've probably just gotten married, you've got children, you've got elderly parents. So we do realize that mental health is also another important aspect to pay attention to. So we've decided that we need to take them out of the hospital once in a while and have team building activities and have coffee breaks and coffee sessions and so on and so forth. So I do hope that that will go on, yeah? So now let's go talk about research in primary care, because that's another hat that all of us academics wear. One of the two of the early publications that I had was, well, one was master's degree, which is continuity of care. Continuity of care, which is basically how often you see the same doctor, was highly valued, but we found that it's not really related to diabetic control or self-care management. So that was a kind of like a game changer. And the second piece that I did with Prof. Ng Chen, about how doctors treat family members, because that's very common, yeah. You have someone asking you, your children, your parents, etc. And we found that doctors face ethical dilemmas and emotional tensions when treating their own family members. I don't know whether it resonates with the doctors in the audience. Okay, Prof. Lee is nodding her head. All right. Because they justify it by saying, oh, it's an urgent thing, it's accessible, and they trust me. But on the other hand, you also have compromised objectivity. There's confidentiality issues which you may not be able to respect, as well as decision-making. That might be quite tough, yeah? So I went on, and at that time I remember Prof. Amin was very supportive that I do my PhD overseas. And I went on to Manchester to do self-management and healthcare behavior. And here I've started off with two, and I had three supervisors, Professor N. Rogers, Martin Rowland, and Urara. And they set me down for 6 months and say, Sherina, you don't do anything else but read. Read the literature and develop your basic skills. And I did. And only then, after 6 months, they allowed me to have my research question, which to me, like, well, it took a long while. But that was another lesson which they taught me, that the research question is the most important thing. Right, Prof. Lee? Yes? And research question drives the research. So whatever research, whatever you do, it always goes back to the research question. We went on to do about some research on hypertension. It's quite a lot, but I'm not going to talk about it. We found that we have guidelines, but then doctors didn't really adhere very well, mainly because of time constraints. But it's important to have targeted interventions. Yeah. So that led us to Respire. I will tell you what it means here. So it's a collaboration. The Respire is actually the National Institute of Health Research and IHR Global Health Research Unit, based in Edinburgh. But we collaborated with other countries, low middle income countries, Bangladesh, India, Malaysia, and Pakistan. Started off way back in 2017. And this was the first meeting, I think, Ping-Yin, right? Okay. They went to Edinburgh. It was all started because the discovery or the situation where respiratory diseases cause a high burden, especially in low middle income countries. And there's a substantial mismatch between the burden and research investment. For example, in this chart, you could see that almost 3/4 of the grants were for non-communicable disease, but less than 2% went for respiratory conditions. So that is a definite mismatch there. So it looks complicated, but never mind. So there is a program called Respire. We had research that was on acute conditions as well as chronic conditions. And when I talk about chronic, it's about asthma, COPD, lung cancer. I mean, all of you would have known what asthma, COPD is all about, yeah? So these were the team members from Malaysia. This was back in 2017. So there have been people who've been added on, and there's some people who've left, but essentially it was all fantastic, great teamwork that carried Respire forwards. Right. So for we worked closely with teams from UPM, for Ministry of Health, from Lembaga Tabung Haji. We worked with various other communities. And basically, we could divide it into research that's conducted amongst individuals, in clinics, as well as in the community. So I'm just going to tell you the research that we did in children. And it's very simple. What we found was that Malaysian children with asthma, they start developing self-management skills as early as 7 years old. I mean, they can do it by their own, managing the inhalers and so on and so forth. But what they do was that they mirror their parents' behavior. And it's very much ingrained in cultural practices. But by the age of 10, children with asthma should be able to manage their asthma to a certain point. Yeah? But what they do is strongly influenced by what they see in schools, in homes, as well as in other support systems. Okay. We also looked at complementary and alternative medicine, what we call as CAM. And you won't believe the things that people do, because we did qualitative research, and qualitative research is where you talk to parents or carers, yeah? So one that we found was that, the use of CAM. This carer had this to say: you have to find something to take together with crocodile meat. That medicine, crocodile meat medicine, is actually quite cheap, while crocodile meat is more expensive. So we discovered there are certain things such this that's being used very widely and very commonly. So we concluded from that part of the research that there is a need for healthcare professionals to address both complementary alternative medicine as well as conventional treatment when dealing with children with asthma. Okay? And then we also studied adults, asthma in adults. Again, culture plays a very big role, yeah? The hot and cold concept of illness, I think you may be familiar with it when you've come across the readings and so on and so forth. Adults with asthma also practice experiential learning. They prefer advice from family and friends rather than from doctors. So therefore, we decided that we need, whatever we say, doctors say to people with asthma, it has to be culturally tailored, it's got to be personalized, and there's got to be very good, strong relationship between the two. For example, one patient said, I stopped budesonide. Now, budesonide is an asthma medicine, because my relative tells me it's going to give me cancer. So they believe what relatives say rather than what doctors say. So I don't know how many of you believe family and friends more than they do doctors. Yeah. Okay. So beyond individuals, we went on to do asthma research in the clinic. We adopted Klang as our base, you would say, because Klang is famous for air pollution. As you know, haze is whenever there's haze, the API index of Klang is usually the highest. So we did research in 6 public clinics in Klang, and we have a cohort of adults as well as children aged 5 and above. And we found that there's many gaps that hinder good asthma care. The main thing is time. Doctors really don't have time in clinic Syarahan to really address asthma care, and also resources and knowledge as well as cultural beliefs. Beyond clinic, we also went to the community. So it's kind of like a 3-level research. In the community, we did, firstly what we did, what was called FOCORD. It means 4-country chronic respiratory disease study. That was in collaboration with Bangladesh, India, as well as Pakistan. We did a scoping review. That means we read the literature, and we found that different people at different places use different methodologies to diagnose common conditions. Yeah. So asthma is often diagnosed using symptoms questionnaires, but there are certain famous ones that are being used. And COPD is diagnosed by using spirometry, but different people use different definitions to come up with a diagnosis. So, it can be quite confusing. And our people in Malaysia, asthma or COPD is always lelah. So you don't know whether lelah is this or that, yeah? So there is a need to standardize high-quality methods to accurately assess disease burden. So we also went around looking at people going for Hajj, because as you know, right now it's the Hajj season and people are going for their medical examinations. We do know that 1 in 5 pilgrims with asthma experience unscheduled care or hospitalization when they're over there in either Mecca or Medina. So we carried out an ethnographic study. That means we observed how the Hajj medical examination was going on. And again, time is a very strong factor. And because of this, people with asthma are not really well screened for or well managed. It's a huge potential, what we realize, to use this examination to advise people with asthma and COPD to manage their conditions better. Pulmonary rehab, yeah, this is Prof. Julia's baby. She's in the audience as well. So as you know, chronic respiratory conditions, you need to do rehabilitation. You can't just let the situation be. But people may find it hard to come to the hospital or centers. So we looked into home-based pulmonary rehab, and we do find that it improves functional capacity and quality of life in COPD patients. And through a pilot study, we found that it's feasible, that it can be carried out, and people do stick to it, and there is improved quality of life. Right. So the next one that's very interesting, again, I have Dr. Wee in the audience as well, who's one of the strong people in this, ecological analysis of asthma health outcomes in Malaysia. As I mentioned, Klang is very polluted. It comes, because it also gets the wind from our neighboring country, yeah? So outdoor pollution increased outpatient attendance and hospital admissions. This is work in progress because we are still developing the apps and all the necessary tools that's, planning to do this so that we can monitor asthma events over the next 4 years, right? So looking forward, that was the first phase of Respire. We had another grant, and therefore we will continue or are continuing from 2022 right up until next year. It looks complicated, but Respire has extremely good planning, yeah? Because the red going horizontally, it had program 1, 2, 3, covered acute, chronic, as well as other conditions. And we had platforms that looked into capacity building, data management, etc. So this is global health research at its, I would say, at its best, yeah. Okay. Stakeholder engagement. This is something that was new to us because in Malaysia, we don't care what participants say, so-called, but we were told it is very, very important. You need to involve your stakeholders right from the start when you first want to do research. Yeah, questionnaires or whatever. You have to meet participants, you have to meet policy makers. So we had a lot of that in Respire. One picture there was in Klang, and the other one was just after COVID, where we still carried on despite, when it was okay to meet, we still carried on. So those of us who are not familiar with stakeholder engagement, it's really something that's very rich, and it gives you better outcome in the end for this aspect. Now, so leadership and capacity building with this Respire, we had people who are experts, but who were tireless in pushing us to do research. I mean, we always have meetings according to UK time because you had to make sure it suits Malaysia, UK, India, etc. So the best time is ultimately 8 to 9. That's why my family always have to suffer. I've got to eat first, I've got to eat later because our con calls would always be at 8 p.m. usually. Yeah. So, but the leaders, they were very much involved, and one of the things that one of the events that they had was leadership schools. Capacity building is a huge thing. You keep on roping new researchers, new RAs, and you teach them. And we also had the Teach the Teacher workshop for the pulmonary rehab component. So I learned a lot, and what I learned was collaboration is absolutely necessary in research. Yeah, collaborative work. So from all these partners, Respire in the first phase, it began to develop, and we had more partners in Respire's second phase. And every year we do an annual scientific meeting. As you can see, the number, well, I'd say it's a big number, but some people may argue that it's not. But we have people coming in from Bhutan, Bangladesh, India, Indonesia. Bhutan is a place where they hardly do research. So when, as what we are doing now with qualitative research, they're not familiar at all with qualitative research. So they look up to us. So you can see that, Malaysia is actually very, we have good resources, and these low and middle income countries are a place where we can start doing some capacity building. Yeah. Now, moving on from conducting research, I'd like to talk a bit about the Medical Research Ethics Committee. From doing research, I called it on the other side. In 2021, Professor Dr. Lui Lai Meng actually roped me into UMMC's MREC, and initially as a deputy chair and eventually as chair. So as how Jack had discovered all the magic things in the castle. Oh, I've got my MREC team. Yay, okay, all right. That's my secretariat. Thank you. Okay. They're young people, you see, so they come up with all these things. Anyway, yeah. So Prof actually guided me to discover research ethics. If you're not familiar, you think that the IRB is something bothersome, they only, right? Okay, they ask you to rewrite your documents, they ask you to relook your PIS, they said, oh, this and oh, that, and it delays your research and so on and so forth. But now that I'm in the IRB, or the Ethics Committee, you get to see the importance of good research oversight, yeah? And it is of utmost importance to protect the participants in research, and not only participants, the researchers as well, yeah? So in MREC, we have various people. We have the secretariat. The faces that you can see, actually what makes up the committee, one, we have experts, in other words, people, clinicians who know their fields very well. We also have lay members, and they are people with no medical background, but they have, their job is to look at the research from the lay perspective and see whether they understand what research is all about. And, they give their time, their effort, and I just want to record our appreciation for our lay members. We have the secretariat, as mentioned. Okay, thank you. It's not all work. We do have fun. That was our new office. I'd like to thank Prof. Nazira for giving us the office. At one time, we were way back, a small office sharing with other people and kind of thing. So when we got this office, we very much felt at home. So thank you. In 2023, we did the International FOCAP conference. We took our chances and did this hybrid conference in UMMC. It's a hybrid thing, okay? So Alex is nodding their head. We said, no, I will go ahead with it. So we had over 400 participants from 19 countries, hybrid as well. It was a tremendous task, but the cooperation and the support that we had from the technology people, the business development unit, everything was fantastic, and we could do that much better. So in the other picture, you could see members from the Ministry of Health Ethics Committee. We have Datin Shamani at that time, and Prof. Louis, Prof. April as Dean, Prof. Nazira as Director as well. Yeah, thank you. I'm also involved in Dental Ethics Committee. Yeah. So Prof. Chai and team, yes, okay, they're also there. I hope they don't do in the conference, not in the next future. Okay. So leadership, well, not much to say, except that I mentioned just now leadership school. Leadership schools is very fascinating because they allow you to explore whatever element that you have and try to develop scope. So the three of us, it's Norita, myself, and the late Prof. Sume, we discovered that leadership is not about ordering people or delegating tasks. It is getting people to share the same aim. And only when you have the same aim, you can work together. Yeah? So we kind of like did this program called Respect, Revitalizing Primary Care Education and Training, Consultation Skills Training. Yeah? So in terms of leadership, I was looking down, this is our book for the 25th anniversary that Prof. Zamri mentioned. There were great HODs before me, as I think I was the 7th or the 8th head, but it was easier to carry out the job because I had fantastic support from my team members. Yeah, when you have excellent team members, lecturers, and like these three people here, okay, and above, so it made life easier because as head you had to, you had to be responsible for things in the faculty as well as things in the hospital. Yeah. Okay. So there are many things that I'm happy to, what we accomplished, but just mainly these two things. We started the visiting professorship program because the faculty encouraged it and we could carry on with it. We had many, probably under 10, professors from other countries come in and share with us their knowledge, their skills. We had summer schools, and that kind of like opened up the pathway for many of the younger lecturers because they could do research, they did their PhDs and so on and so forth. So visiting professorship is a good program, really. And I just have to thank, the management of the university and faculty for that. That is Yu Kong, or Dr. Lee Yu Kong. He was our first PhD graduate from the department. And it is, I'm very, very proud to say that to date we have 11 Masters of Medical Science graduates and 15 PhD students. Clap, clap. Okay. It's not my work, okay? Adina was the head after me, and Camila is currently the head. And, when you have a PhD student, and this is a clinical department, you need supervisors and you need all other things, but it's really a rewarding experience to have PhD graduates from your department. Okay. So beyond the faculty, as mentioned, I'm very much involved in the Academy of Family Physicians Malaysia. In the picture, you could see I'm very much involved in the GCFM, Graduate Certificate of Family Medicine program, where Prof. Chia is the lead in this program. We have modules. I work closely with the emergency physicians because we do kind of like refresher courses for emergency care. Yeah? So that's the weekends that take me away from you guys, Mira. Yeah, okay. I'm always having workshops. Okay. So the Malaysian Primary Care Research Group is another activity where we try to elevate the standard of research in primary care in the country. So that's the committee. This was the previous committee. Our head of department, Camila, now heads MPCRG. We do the biannual Asia Pacific Primary Care Conference where we work with our colleagues with Singapore, and a lot of it is also capacity building, where we have research championships. We have a small group of researchers, they come with us with proposals, we help them to develop it, and within 2 days, you know, we have them to present and see who gets the prize. And that's a very nurturing activity. Yeah. So as mentioned, the Malaysian Society of Hypertension is also another thing that people, you need passion to carry this out, because you know we meet 6 p.m. till late. It's usually in IJN because most of them are from IJN, but also, again, Procha was a person who roped me into this society. Recently, we had our scientific conference, and we had Tun Mahathir who officiated, and to see a 100-year-old man come and officiate and give speech, and it's very inspiring. So those of you with hypertension, you better start controlling your blood pressure, because I know some of them and some of you might have, yeah? Okay, that's confidentiality for you. So another event, another society for under academy, we have the Malaysian Family Physician Journal, which as reviewers, we need to review whether the journals are fit for publication, and Prof. Lee, who is the boss of FMPM, is here as well. So it's something that you need to be involved in if you are quite passionate about research. Okay. So I go on to appreciation and my thank yous, and this might take a while. I'm going to give one slide to you, Prof. Chia. You are our you are our primary care guru. You are my primary care guru, and so many here. Okay, so you can see. I don't know what to say, because she worked very hard, I think, with Professor Anwar Zaini at that time to develop the development. At that time, there was no primary care in Malaysia. So to start a program from the start and to what it is now is indeed a feat. Yeah. Okay. So she is someone who really taught me clinical medicine. You know, I had, remember, good grounding from Prof. Wang. Okay, and then to practice primary care in primary care, then Prof. Chia nurtured that. All my work with research, she inspired me. She was the one who said, go do your PhD lah, okay? So I went to do my PhD, okay? And then, come, join hypertension. So that's essentially serendipity. When the opportunity comes, you know, you just take it up. So, Prof. Chia, thank you very much for all that you've done for the discipline, for myself, for the university, okay? Thank you for that, yeah. My appreciation, my utmost appreciation to the management, to the faculty, currently led by Prof. Yang, to the hospital, currently led by Prof. Nazira. They are my friends, but when we're dealing with issues related to work, they're very much professional, yeah. So it was especially during my headship that I really appreciated the value of the support from your management, and it really means a lot. So thank you very much. The VicCom unit, yeah, there are people who I never knew the names of. I knew the face, and I knew the name, but I didn't know the face. But VicCom was instrumental in doing all this. You all will probably hear it time and time again, but they're the one who said, okay, Prof, you do this, Prof, you do that. Okay, you turn up now, you turn, you know, this time and that time. So we have photographers, we have the technical teams, we have people who label your chairs and everything, so they're actually doing a good job. Thank you very much. And my department, staff admin, they're outside there, nicely donned up in Songket attire. The department will not function without them, honestly. Okay, so thank you very much to No and team. Yeah. So to my students, yeah, to my dear students who have 1001 issues in their lives. So these are different batches. Okay, you have to know these issues. As I mentioned, postgraduate students are in their 30s. They have children, they have parents, financial woes. You know, there was actually one who was chased by Along. And it really, you know, even we were afraid for her. But anyway, thank you to my students who really inspired me, the passion to go on to do what I do. Yeah. Yes, now the department, this lovely department. Yeah. So that was the 25th dinner that Prof. Zamri was mentioning. It was great fun. We had talks, we had celebration. It's not a big department, as you can see. Yeah. probably half the nurses, probably half the doctors, but it could fit into the foyer of our office. Yeah. So Department of Primary Care Medicine, we did quite a lot of things together. I mean, 3 decades of my life have been with them. Yeah, okay. So we like to argue professionally. We know when to agree, when to disagree. Yeah. We go hiking. So I roped in Imran as well, my son, on our hiking trips. Okay. Birthdays. Birthdays is something. You always have a birthday cake in the department when it's your birthday. Yeah. So you have that. So that's really a fun thing as well. And yeah, the 3 of us, Norita, myself, and again, the late Arwah Sume, we did a lot of things. We planned many of the postgraduate programs, training. So this camaraderie within the department is also very important. And it's something that really, I don't feel unhappy to go to work. You look forward to go to work. That's really nice, yeah. So we do a lot of trips as well. These are just some of the places that we've been to Penang. We've got families. At that time, Camila's children were still small. We went, Janda Baik, I think. Okay, Sume's house was always a center to makan, durians, especially durian feast. And I really like this place because we went a weekend, I can't remember where as well, but when you cook and you eat together, it really bonds you in a certain way, yeah. So that's the most recent picture, Hari Raya, over at my house, and it's really nice to see small children because, with time they will grow big. When I started, the kids were still small, and look at them now, yeah. So to my friends, my TKC friends, okay. I mean, we've known each other since we were 13 years old, and that tells a lot, okay. So thank you for sharing the companionship, the calories, the joys, the tears, the laughters, okay? And this was in Balok, where we had a whale of a weekend together. For my medic friends, yes, that row there, okay? 2 rows, yeah. We kind of lost contact in our 30s because people were busy with families and postgraduate training and so on and so forth. But we kind of reuniting. Again, we've had several reunions. But and the bottom picture was the last that we had last year in Penang. Not easy to get, and this is a very good number, I would say, but it's fun. And it's really, really good to grow old together with these medic friends, okay? Because you can talk about anything, yeah? Okay, anything. When I mean anything, is anything, okay? And to this group of people, yeah, they're all my medic batchmates. In 2015, on a family trip, I looked at Kinabalu. We were in Kundasang, I think, and I said, it's a very majestic mountain. So I wanted to climb it, but I had to find people. So I roped in these people, and they really, really helped me. We trained over a year, and I actually got up there, They waited, they pulled me up. I was the last to reach, of course, okay, because I was the least fit. So about a year short of turning 50, we did this together. We reached the top of Kinabalu. So, yeah. So that's really deep, and that's really wonderful to have such good friends. Yeah, we were not really close. We were in medical school, but at this phase of life, you hold on to friends. To my family, okay. So that's my husband, Sheikh Harif. Thank you very much for your trust and your support. And to my family, my parents have both passed away, so it's essentially us right now. So I have my 2 siblings. Both my brother and sister can't be here, but I have my sister-in-law, and I have my other sister-in-law, and I've got the nieces and nephews somewhere, so that's that. And we also have the family cat there. So thank you very much to my family for keeping me grounded in family, okay? Yeah, okay. And to my kids, when I told the kids that I'm going to do this, so one said, "Can you talk about gardening?" I said, "I don't think so. I don't know that they want to talk about gardening." So I put gardening, okay, in the title and everything else, yeah? So they said, "Oh, now, Ibu, you can tell us what you do." So finally I can tell you, and I hope you understand what I do, what I have been doing for the past 30 years, because they don't understand what I do, okay? So the first picture was where we brought Imran home from the hospital. That was when I finished. So I had Mira just before I started masters. She's there. Number 2 came when I was in my 2nd year. So I failed a paper because I went into labor when doing a paper. So I failed that. Okay, and Imran came the year after I finished my masters. And they grew at that stage. The second picture is when you can do anything with them. You can dress them in anything you want, and they won't object. Okay, so They are in that fairy costumes, yeah, okay. Third picture is when, okay, they can now talk back, yeah, they have their own ideas, they plan where to go makan. Now, my husband and I just say, okay, where to go, you know. My husband just pay, that's all, cukup syarat, okay. So that's the third picture. And finally, I really thank you all for becoming the amazing adults that you are now. So my kids have all started working. So Mira is involved in, what is it that you do, Mira? Event management. Okay. So, and yeah, I know what I do, what she does really, but talk to her. Okay. So number 2, who's not here, she's based overseas and she's an accountant. And number 3 is a physiotherapist. And those of you with problems can approach Shimran. Okay. So those are my kids, and I think Prof. Chia remembers them from the time they were small. Yeah. Okay. Remember the picture I showed you, October 2024. When these people got a packet of seeds, not knowing what is in store. So they did do what they had to do. They nurtured their seeds, okay? So they planted. They planted seeds because they had to give a progress report 2 months later, yeah? So they planted seeds. Some, okay, the first picture, the seeds never went out of the packet, okay? And it grew. Some of them really did grow plants, okay? So that's the message. You are the students, your students are your seeds. You need to nurture them, okay? Well, if you put them in the right conditions, they will grow. For example, you could see that climbing plant really was happy where it was, and it really, really grew. And at the end of the day, you get very nice salad tasting. Don't ask me what happens to students, but essentially, you nurture your students, yeah, okay? So it was a fun thing, and they actually had... it was a competition, really. So we had people who evaluated their progress, and those are the winners. Yeah, serious, okay? So this, it drives home the message that as supervisors, you do have your responsibility towards your students. But as supervisors, you also like to be rewarded, kan? Okay, it's not only KPI that you're working for, right? Okay, so it's doing things for what you love as well. Okay. So I'm reaching almost the end of my talk. Planting seeds, nurturing growth, a journey up the primary care beanstalk. Yeah. This is actually the most important slide that I want to share with you because we've planted our seeds. This is not even 10% of the FMSs whom we have trained over the years, and they are everywhere. Remember that other specialists, they will work in big hospitals because, general hospitals, they all need specialists. But our graduates go to clinic kesihatan, and like these ones, in West Malaysia, AU2, Salak, Botanic, Pelabuhan Kelang, and so on and so forth. In Pahang, even I have Razia from Pahang, Razia somewhere. Yeah, Razia from Pahang. Okay, and Dr. Wong Ping Fu, he's a KL person, so he's based here. Okay, but we have people in East Malaysia. Okay, we have from Sandakan, Telipok, Lanang, Inaman. Do you know where Inaman is? Okay. Lubuk Antu pun ada, FMS, okay, Telipok. So that's the Ministry of Health's aim, to have trained FMSs giving good quality primary care, even in health centers. So that's really my pride and joy and why I go on doing what I do. Okay. So it just then, I just want to share this. Norita couldn't be here today, but she wrote this message, "From little seeds grow mighty trees," and I really, really agree with her. So I really, really thank all of you in this audience right now, this afternoon, for spending your time and effort. It just leaves me to thank Allah Almighty for all the blessings that He has given me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prof. Sherina. You did not disappoint for your very inspiring lecture. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Zamri Razi back to the podium to summarize and conclude today's inaugural lecture.
Terima kasih. Penghargaan sekali lagi untuk Prof. Nik Sherina. In Malay, this is what we say. Di mana tumpahnya kuah kalau tidak ke nasi. So her parents, both alumni of University Malaya, proud alumni of UM. The auntie, emeritus professor of University Malaya, well-known linguist. So if the auntie is Professor Emeritus, Datuk Dr. Nik Safia Abdul Karim, then Professor Zain Karim must be your uncle. Grand uncle. So ladies and gentlemen, here we have the last Dean of Faculty of Agriculture, University of Malaya. Before that very particular faculty became a university that later known as University Pertanian Malaysia, and now UPM, was Prof. Nik Sherina's uncle. And if Professor Emeritus Dr. Nik Safia, your auntie, grand auntie, and Professor Zain, grand uncle, then this man must be your great-great-great-grandfather. Very learned man, known as the teacher of theology, Islamic theology in Kelantan, very famous, contemporary of Tok Kenali, senior to Tok Kenali in fact, very well known, Haji Abdul Malik Hassan of Sungai Pinang. Must be your great-great-great, and great. Jadi tahulah kita, seterusnya seluruh keturunan Prof. Nik Sherina juga akan menjadi orang yang berilmu. Sebagaimana the Haji Abdul Karim dia meninggalkan 6 pesan untuk orang yang berilmu. So we'll share about the 6 much later. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Prof. Nik Sherina, for the inspiring and thought-provoking lecture. Your journey, insights, and unwavering commitment to primary care medicine have truly illustrated what it means to plant seeds, nurture growth, and build a legacy of service, education, and research. Your contribution both within UM and beyond have undoubtedly shaped the landscape of primary care and the development of future practitioners. The last slide summarizes all. Today's lecture not only highlighted the depth of your expertise, but also your passion of meaningful change in the communities we serve. On behalf of the university, top management, Senate of the university, Faculty of Medicine, UM as a whole, we would like to express our deepest appreciation for your dedication and leadership. We look forward to witnessing many more milestones in your continued journey. Yang berbahagia Tan Sri, yang berbahagia Datuk, Professor Emeritus, yang berbahagia Datin, professors, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, please join us once again in congratulating Professor Dr. Nik Sherina Haidi Hanafi on her outstanding inaugural lecture. We will always remember this afternoon. Thank you all. Thank you everyone.
Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Zamri Razi, for chairing today's event. And thank you, Prof. Nik Sherina, for your impressive and heartwarming lecture. Hidup berilmu, hidup berbakti, menjadi bekal sepanjang hayat. Sampai di sini majlis berakhir. Salah dan silap, maaf diharap. We come to the end of the session and the inaugural lecture for the day. I would like for Professor Nate and Professor Zamri to stand up for photography to commemorate today's event. Then we have other photography session as well. Another official photograph will be on the floor, so we can take photo from here. Can everyone probably come together to the middle so that we can have a nice photo? And stand up, please. Stand up and come together in the middle.